Alright, so get that there. Cool. So EV charging, don't get stuck in the speed trap. This is a little headline grabber that I've come across here. So the shift from traditional gas and diesel powered vehicles to electric vehicles is here. It's happening. We saw the shift with mobile phones in the early, was it the 80s and 90s? People went from, and I heard something the other day that there was actually people who had mobile phones back in the 70s or something, and people, thought they were crazy. What are you doing? But now we all have one. So the same thing will happen with electric vehicles. And the interesting part is that people who own electric vehicles go on to buy another electric vehicle. They're not going back to your petrol powered vehicles. They love them, they enjoy them. They're a lot more quieter. I'm just down at the beach at the moment actually. People are just, they love them, they enjoy them. So that's the thing about electric vehicles. It's the way forward, and that's why we're your specialists for EV charging. We will sort you out. We will come and look at your house and make it more efficient. We will just better the whole situation, really. Okay, so what have we got here? In fact, the last time we felt vehicle transition shift of this magnitude was the change from the horse and buggy, or horse and cart, to the horseless carriage, which is a car. Okay, so that's where probably horsepower comes from. I guess they tried to relate what you currently had with the future. Perhaps that's what they had. So just like today, there's naysayers. There was a lot of naysayers back in the day. They said, why would you want to have something that you've got to put, this substance in there called petrol? That's crazy. Why would you want to have that when you can just have a horse and feed it hay, and feed it when you rock up to places, feed it and give it water. They're much more efficient, and you don't have to service them, except you did. People wanted. Henry Ford famously said, if I asked what people wanted, they would have said a faster horse. So today, if you ask people what they want, they might say, I want a more efficient car. That's your electric vehicle. You can charge it from your house, and you have a solar system for next to no cost. It's a no-brainer, right? There's no servicing with electric vehicles. You have to do the brakes and that kind of thing. But if you have a Tesla, there's no servicing. I mean, why are you considering any other vehicle? For me, there's a little bit of restriction around commercial vehicles at the moment, but that's going to be lifted. I think that the car makers are price skimming at the moment. $100,000 for a commercial vehicle is that's just ridiculous. There's no cost benefit there. There's just a little bit of look at me, I've got an electric vehicle, which is fine. I totally get that. I wish I could do that. Can't at the moment. But we're actually looking at, perhaps we can get one of the older diesel vans and moving them, taking all the, call it ice. don't know why they call it ice, but let me look that up. Why do we call it an ice vehicle? Sounds like a drug or something. What's an ice vehicle? What's an ice vehicle? There are several terms that are frequently used. A clean technica, which is not particularly common among broader populations, so I decided to create a glossary to help us. Okay, cool. Well, let's have a look again. So ICE stands for internal combustion engine. ICE vehicle. Right. And there's also FFC, which is a fossil fuel vehicle. All vehicles with a tailpipe. Right, I guess you need those. And there's a HEV, which is a hybrid vehicle. You've got a PEV, which is a plug-in hybrid vehicle. A BEV, which is a battery electric vehicle. Okay. What else we got here? Vehicle classes. A segment. So that's a mini electric vehicle. So you got your Volkswagen Up, your Fiat Pandana 500, Toyota Argo, maybe it's Argo, Toyota Argo, Japanese Kia cars, B segment, which is a small vehicle. So you got Volkswagen Polo, Renault Clio, Ford Fiesta, Toyota Yaris, Opel Corsa, never even heard of it. C segment, which is your lower medium cars. So there's a lower, medium, and a medium. I guess they're saying like a more economical or cheaper vehicle versus more expensive vehicle, perhaps, but of the same size. So for the lower C segment, lower medium, is your VW Golf. Got Renault. Looks like Megane. Anyway, Audi A3, Toyota Corolla, Honda Civic, D segment medium, BMW 3 Series, Mercedes-Benz C-Class, Audi A4, Volkswagen Pst. E segment large, BMW 5 Series, Mercedes Benz E-Class, and Audi A6, and F segment you've got luxury. So F segment's your luxury vehicles. BMW 7 Series, Mercedes Benz S-Class, Audi A8. So there was no electric vehicles in there. I thought it was going to be electric vehicles anyway. What do we got here? So that's cool. That's all good. That's an ICE vehicle. So what can I tell you about electric vehicle charge stations? Queensland EV charging stations. So discovering Queensland Electric Super Highway. Queensland Electric Super Highway is the state's network of electric vehicles charging stations. It connects drivers to dozens of coastal, inland EV charging stations, including ultra-rapid charging sites. So an ultra-rapid charging site, you're looking at probably a 15-minute charge. That's from 20% to 80% charge. That's your fastest charging time. All different vehicles have different charging rates that are less than 20%. When it's less than 20%, different vehicle manufacturers have different charge rates. Likewise, when it's plus 80%, they might slow the charging down. This is just to protect the battery, so it gives it longevity. Okay, pretty standard when it comes to charging batteries. That's why they slow down your phone when it's charging. The same deal. If you've noticed that, your iPhone does that. My iPhone does that. You can overwrite that sort of thing if you like, but usually it does wear the battery out quicker, which, you know, I don't think it's a big deal anyway. Here we go. So find discounted EV charging near you. RACQ members get 20% off on ChargeFox EV charging. To find ChargeFox EV charging stations near you, simply download the ChargeFox app. ChargeFox app. That follows you to the app allows you to find EV charging stations near you, see any stations, maximum charging capability and available plug-in types, get directions to your nearest EV stations, get instructions for using EV charging stations technology. Electric Super Highway, mobility clubs. So mobility clubs take sole ownership of ChargeFox. New partnership with Accelerate the expansion of ChargeFox charging stations across Australia. Australia's state mobility clubs, including RACQ, have taken ownership of the country's largest electric vehicle charging network operator, ChargeFox. RACQ, NRMA, RACB, RACRAA and RACT, through their wholly owned company Australian Motor Services, AMS, stepped up their shareholding in ChargeFox to become the sole owner. That's interesting. ChargeFox will continue to operate as usual and will refocus on its ambitions to target to have more than 5,000 EV plugs across the country by the end of 2025, providing a greater EV charging options and reducing Australia's vehicle emissions. That's the key, hey, like reducing those emissions. I don't know about you, but I just really hate it when I'm stuck behind a stinky vehicle that's just pumping out fumes. Typically an older vehicle that hasn't been serviced or looked after, you know, the valves are starting to burn up, they don't close properly, and just you get all this blue smoke coming out the back, and it's just it's disgusting. One of the major barriers to the adoption of electric vehicles is the driving range. If you own a Tesla, I don't think you should have driving range anxiety in this country. There's enough chargers on the road at the moment that, you know, and if you're fully charging at home, how many kilometers are you actually driving to your work? If you're driving over 600 k's every single day to your work, maybe you should choose a different job or a different vehicle. I think choosing a different job, who wants to drive that many k's per day? Unless you're a truck driver, of course. All respect to that. My grandfather was a truck driver in the Air Force, so I have a lot of respect for truckies. But I'd imagine that they would be looking forward to an electric version of their truck. Something that would change their industry, hopefully for the better. We already have buses, we already have electric buses, so food for thought anyway. We want to make Australia electric vehicles ready so that companies will be encouraged to lift the supply and give you more choice. I skipped a line there, but more choice is going to be better. I think that'll reduce the price. I think the pricing right now is called what they call in marketing price skimming. So the price is artificially being lifted so you've got the new technology. Yeah, you pay a premium to get the new tech. That's basically how it works. I called up a car yard the other day for an LDV van. I was just curious. It's not a brand that I would normally align myself with, but I was curious to know how much their EVs were, and they quoted me over $110,000. And that's you could buy 2.5 of their ICE vehicles. So you could, their standard diesel vehicles are around about the $43,000 or $45,000 mark, somewhere around there. And then the exact same vehicle but electric is $110,000. I think that's absolutely crazy to be paying that much for what's essentially a more economical brand. That's how they've positioned themselves on the market. Whereas if you look at something like Ford or Mercedes, you can understand paying a premium for those brands because they're a prestige brand, they're a heritage brand, and that's how they position their branding. So we go back to this other line here. One of the major barriers to the addition of electric vehicles is their driving range. So the ChargeFox expansion will provide access to a quality network of chargers which will take the stress out of trip planning. Yeah, it's true. There's an app out there already. There's a nice vehicle right there. There's an app called PlugShare, so you can jump on there and you can actually see how many charging stations are all there. So if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, I encourage you to check out your workplace, see if you have a charging facility there. If you're the owner, think about putting that in. If you're an employee, maybe you can query the boss, see if they're thinking about putting in, the premises owner, see if they're thinking about putting it in. And if they are, the only thing that might be holding it back is just if there's a demand for it. Because as a property owner, commercial premises, you can actually make an extra revenue stream by selling your electricity through electric vehicle charging. It's just a no-brainer. It's just about understanding how this stuff works. I think once people fully understand it, they will adopt this new mode of transport. ChargeFox charging stations can be used in all modern makes and models of EVs, and some are able to charge to 80% or more in 15 minutes. See now, that's at least a 300 kilowatt or probably anywhere from a 50 kilowatt charger upwards for a single lot vehicle. So if you've got 2 vehicles on there, I'd say it'd be 120 kilowatt charger. If you're thinking, oh man, this is a lot of power being drawn from the grid, it's the same thing that happened when electric hot water systems got brought online. It's the same thing that when we all wanted air conditioners got brought up online. The grid had to adapt, and again, the grid will adapt. It's what we do as humans. We just adapt to the different situations. So it'll all happen, and it'll be all be really, really good, I believe. As an RACQ member, you can now save 20% when you're charging your electric vehicles at all ChargeFox ultra rapid charging stations across Australia. Okay, to access the discounts, simply download the free ChargeFox app from your Apple App Store or your Google Play Store. Sign up to create an account, then in the My Profile section, select Add Program, add your RACQ member number and agree to the terms and conditions. Sounds pretty simple to me. If you're an RACQ member, a bit of a no-brainer, a bit more of an encouragement to purchase an electric vehicle and get amongst it. ChargeFox CEO Marty Andrews said the expanded network of the chargers would benefit EV drivers and the environment. Absolutely. The accelerated rollout of ChargeFox's network has been broad-reaching benefits as it allows for further local and long-distance EV travel, giving more Australians EV drivers better access to world-leading charging technology and right way across the country, said Mr. Andrews. That's a quote from him. Here's another quote. The backing of such a strong, long-standing partnership with their investments will help us deliver this. Okay, so they got some financial backing. AMS Group, which is that RACQ business, CEO Shell Reid acknowledged that the enormous environmental benefits associated with ChargeFox's accelerated growth and the flow on to the members of mobility clubs and the broader country. So here we go with a quote. "We are proud to play the role of supporting ChargeFox's growth," said Mr. Reid. So it's actually Michael Reid. Sorry. The trolls are going to love me for that one. "We share a mutual goal to reduce the road transport emissions to zero and support the growing community of EV drivers across the country. We continue to see a large number of EVs on the road and a number of Australians who are considering purchasing an EV in the future. It is growing. 100% it's growing. Combined, will have a greater power of opportunity to deliver infrastructure that Australians need and to increase the uptake of EVs and therefore reduce the road transport emissions." And you can visit either one of their websites, at AMS or ChargeFox websites, to learn a little bit more. So that all being said, we're looking at a company, RACQ, who are now going to be one of the major providers of our fuel, essentially. So you think about all these other companies, Shell, BP, etc. You've got to think, what are they doing? I know they're putting some of the EV chargers at their stations, but if I was one of those companies, I'd be approaching companies such as mine. Any of these companies should be approaching installers like us and encouraging us to get our feedback of where we can start installing these in destination locations. And right now, I'm sitting here down at the beach and there's no electric vehicle charger. Why not? Why not? You know, it's all just a no-brainer, really. Cheaper vehicles, cheaper motor transport. It's cleaner for the environment. It's cleaner for you. You know, you don't have to worry about the vehicle leaking oil. You don't have to worry about parts that are hot. It's harder to steal the vehicle. It's harder to get into the vehicle. There's just so much more benefit. These are is a more advanced mode of transport, and they will eventually replace all the vehicles that are currently in the market. Keep an eye out for that. GTG Electrical, your number one installers for electric vehicle charging right here on the Sunshine Coast and in Queensland. Thanks for watching.